Whoa! Hello, class. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Let me get this thing out of the way. That's hot. Just got back from China. We had to pay the People's Republic of China some serious money to get our friends out of there that wanted to set up a real estate franchise. Apparently, since the Cultural Revolution in 1966, such things are illegal, against the law. And I guess we're lucky we didn't get the death penalty. We got them out. We had to pay a fine, but they're back. And they're going to be back in class, and they can tell their story at some time. Anyway, today's deal is important because this is about Easton versus Strasburger. And if you don't know what that is, or if you think you know, or if you have an inkling of it, Google is your friend and Google this thing and figure out what this means, because it means a lot to you, representing either a buyer or a seller, and it's all about disclosure. Everything is about disclosure in our business, and unfortunately, we're getting towards the point of where everything is about covering your hind end. So that's very important that you do that, and you understand Easton versus Strasburger in doing that. And I'll just summarize it. Back in the heyday in '76, the Eastons purchased a house in Danville, California. Still a nice area, probably really cool there at that time. 3,000-foot house, swimming pool, guest house, blah, 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 located on 1 acre. Shortly after the home was purchased, earth movements and subsequent slides caused damage to the house. Testimony said that indicated the earth movement were caused. The house was built on an improperly filled lot. 2 slides occurred, blah, blah, blah. Upon selling the property, the defendant, sellers, Mr. and Mrs. Strasburger, failed to inform the representative brokers of the past slide activity. Evidence at the trial shows that there were red flags. That's where you come in. If you're representing a seller, you better make darn sure that you have a heart-to-heart talk with them, and you discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly about their property. Every single thing. Put that thing on your disclosures. Put those things on your TDS. Put them on the rest of the disclosures. Make sure it's very, very, very specific. You can't be specific enough. In this instance, they didn't have those disclosures. They didn't have TDSs in '76, but these people would have put on there was a landslide and all the rest. Now, where do you come in as a broker? Well, if you're a seller's broker, like we just said, it works like this. You talk to your seller and make darn sure they disclose every single thing to you. You, in turn, memorialize that on your forms and see to it that the buyer and the buyer's broker receives that same information. It's the only protection you have. If they give you something and says, hey, this is an inspection that we had done, it's not too good, so this is just between you and me. No, it can't be. You got to tell them everything about it, because what will happen, the court will come back and rule that you colluded with the sellers to withhold information, and therefore the house didn't have the value that they paid for it. And you'll be hitting up your E&O if you're carrying it, and I hope to God you all are. They'll want to be compensated in some way, shape, or form. If you're the buyer's agent, a little bit different. You get all these disclosures and you go over them chapter and verse with your client. Say, oh, look here, the toilet leaked. Okay, they fixed it. Go through every item very specifically with them. And critically important, because I'm kind of embroiled in a little thing like this myself right now, do a visual inspection of the property. Now, your AVID, your agent's visual inspection disclosure, is pretty specific in its instructions. You're not a construction expert. You're not an electrician. You're not a plumber. You're not a landscaper. You're not a lot of things. You're a real estate agent or a broker, whichever. You walk that property. And part of this Easton was the buyer's broker should have seen some things that would lead him to believe that there were problems with the property. I think there was a guest house that had a buckled floor in it. There was a hillside in the back, which was shored up by some of that orange netting. I think probably orange, that plastic stuff. And the courts found in this instance that the buyer's broker should have viewed that as a red flag and brought it up. Now, you don't bring it up in the context of, oh, look, that hill came down, that floor is buckled, so this probably isn't a good property. So you better not buy it, because you know what will happen then. They won't buy it, somebody else will buy it, and then your client will come back to you and say, because of what you said, and you aren't an expert on earth movement. We didn't buy the house, and now we've lost $1 million or whatever it was. So be careful. State it and leave it alone. I see earth moving. The earth's moving under my feet. I see a buckling floor in the guest house. Should have that checked out. I see this. I see that. You're not required to stick your head under foundations. You're not required to climb into attics, test utility boxes, flush toilets, look under sinks. You're not required to do any of that stuff. But you must make a visual inspection, and you must make note of what you see, particularly anything that, again, in this, they use the term in this finding, anything that a reasonable person would consider a red flag. You simply draw it to the attention of your client. And you might follow up with, hey, I'm not sure what this is all about. I'm not an authority on these issues, but we better have it checked out. Of course, nowadays you got 17 days to have experts look at it and all that. However, as an adjunct to the Eastern versus Strasburger, there's also a fiduciary responsibility that's been defined numerous times as far as you and your client goes. You cannot pass off your responsibilities to a third party. That is to say, you must do this inspection. It's critically important. You're going to get a home inspection. You're going to get a roof, all that stuff. But you cannot pass off these responsibilities to a third party. It begins with you, and it begins with you noting red flags. It's all you got to do. From that point, you go over it with your customer, then you move on to the inspections. You meld all this information together, and if your buyer still wants to do it, move forward, close the deal. If they think it's a deal killer, then you don't. But you don't interject yourself as an expert and say, well, I see that this roof, the shingles are curled up on it. And you better not buy it. Never do that. I see roof curl. Suggest roof inspection. Well, I see sewage in the backyard. Suggest septic tank inspection. And you're good. You're good to go. Just make sure your client is fully aware of everything that you've noted, and they sign off on it, and then they move to the next step, which is professional inspections. That way you should be okay. It's obvious red flags you're looking for. Do not stick your head in an attic underneath the foundation. Do not reach into a utility box and get zapped. Do any of that stuff. Just note what could be red flags as recognized in Easton versus Strasburger, and you should be in just fine shape. Download this thing. It's on the web. Learn it. Very, very important to your livelihood and to your likelihood of continuing business in this wonderful, wonderful atmosphere we're in. Thanks very much. Told you it'd be short and sweet. I'm going to go up here and turn off the camera. Thank you.